You say slow down. I don't like to move too fast. It drowns the truth with things that are not real, and I really want us to be real with love, love that lasts. In the past I messed up, gave too much.
This particular short turn was shot on the red slope. For those who know the area, this is the glacier slope, the public GS course, located next to the T-bar lift. There was about 10 centimeters of fresh snow on the hill, an unpredictable base, and extremely flat light. It helps in the analysis if we know what the skier's goal was with the run. I wanted to ski such a run at a moderate speed, where the details are clearly visible, even in real time. The first thing I look for in the transition phase is the state of the skis. Are they parallel? What's the distance between them? Are they in line, or is one left behind? In this case, I can be satisfied. The skis are together and parallel, and the distance is approximately hip width. What does hip width mean? Some people think that the legs are hip width apart if the hips fit between them. In fact, this is already a straddle stance, and the legs are not parallel in this case. Hip width means that the legs are as far apart as they originate from the hip joint, so they are parallel. What many people mean by hip width is practically a shoulder width. After that, I'm curious about the direction of travel. Is there any sudden direction change during the transition, or do they follow the previous line? Let's step back and forth a few frames to check the direction of the ski. Where do the skis come from and where do they go? Here, the direction of the skis continues without any sudden break. In one turn, we can see a slight lift at the ski tip, indicating a back position. For me, it's not a big problem. I could keep the ski tips on the snow, but it's not a big mistake. A back position often happens at the end of the turn. It comes from how the skis are running to the other side under the body. As long as the skier can put the tip of the ski on the snow at the beginning of the turn, as we see here, it's not an issue. As the next step, we take a look at the body position. I don't want to go too deeply into the details, we will highlight just a few main points. First, are the two lower legs parallel? During the transition, both skis should be on their bases without any edge angle, but sometimes it's not clearly seen. However, if the lower legs aren't parallel, the edge angles aren't the same either. Usually, the downhill ski is on the edge and the uphill ski is on the base. A short note: when speaking about the transition, we use the terms uphill and downhill, but don't use them when it comes to the turn, as it is ambiguous. In the case of the turn, we use the inside and outside terms. Here, in this video, the lower legs are parallel. We can check the main axis: ankle, knee, hip, shoulder. Are they parallel as seen from the foreline? Or for example, is the downhill side shoulder lower? What about the hip and the knee line? Are both feet on the snow, or is one lifted as a step movement? Seeing from the longitudinal axis, which goes through the body from the top of the head to the feet, are one or more axes rotated, or are parallel? In this case, the ankle and the knee lines are parallel and directed more across the slope. The hip axis is turned somewhat towards the foreline, and the shoulder more so. Those twisted axes are typical in the case of a fluent run short turn and a cross-under transition. Axes fixed to each other without torsion may be more of an issue in short turns. Without this separation, a fixed body causes many errors, including a narrower corridor, timing issues, unsynchronized skis. We can check the joint angles as well. At this turn, the knees are more bent than they were at the apex. However, we can observe a dissonance in the timing of the knee flexion. Here, the deepest position is earlier, during the completion, and this angle is kept until the transition. At the very moment of the neutral phase, the knee starts to extend, which can be a real issue. In a right turn, all the muscle activities are set up for a right-sided dominance. The main rotational effort is directed to the right side. The inside right leg exhibits abduction dominance, while the outside left leg has adduction dominance. In the case of run short turns, you must drive the skis more across the slope, but you need to let your upper body move closer to the foreline downhill. It follows that the upper body starts the transition earlier, and the lower body maintains the skis across direction and switches sides a bit later. During the turn, the outside leg is the longer one and carries the load. The function of the outside leg was to transfer the forces from the snow to the body to divert it into the turn. The body moves sideways along the curved line because the outside ski forces it to do so. Without it, the upper body would move downhill on its own. Actually, as long as the outside ski forces the body into the turn, it prevents the transition at the same time. When approaching the transition, there is no longer a need to move the body, in this case to the right. Instead, it must let the body flow over the skis. It must shorten, making room for the body to move downhill, while at the same time maintaining or enhancing the right side dominance. If it doesn't get shorter or extends, the pelvis and the middle of the body get blocked. Its downhill momentum gets stopped. The pelvis and the hip move up and to the side instead of moving fluently downhill. Because the block is on the downhill side, it twists the pelvis to the opposite direction and prevents it from turning naturally towards the next turn downhill. This results in a worse line, a weaker stance, and a timing delay. Another issue is that during the transition, all muscle activities must switch from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. The downhill leg needs to be flexed to switch those muscle activities. If it's rigid in extension, the freedom of movement becomes restricted. Rotator muscles, primarily the hamstrings and the hip muscles, are only effective at bent joint angles. In the case of an extended knee and hip, practically we can barely rotate. Shortening the legs is not that simple. It's an eccentric activity, but not in the way that many people believe it. It can be a release as you sit down on a chair, but try to jump down from a chair is not the same. Do the same jump by landing on one leg and let your body sink until you form an exact right angle at the knee, neither more nor less. 9 out of 10 people can't do it. They will finish in a stance with a more extended knee. Now imagine that a hydraulic device can leave the ground. This is the case of a short turn. You receive an external force that you can only guess, and you must adjust your tensions to this effect. If you create too much tension, this is the typical case, you will experience the same failure as shown in the example. A bit better if you release too much. This is what we can see sometimes from top skiers as well. In this case, your upper body can move fluently downhill, but it's still a mistake. The consequence will be a delay in the upcoming turn. Altogether, this is a complicated movement structure that requires a high level of movement control. That's why those kinds of short turns are advanced skills. I also recommend checking the gaze direction. During the transition, the skier should visually aim for the fall line, roughly at the location of the next transition or further away. Looking down at the snow at the subsequent initiation or the apex of the turn is a mistake. For now, we skip the initiation phase and scroll forward to the apex. Again, the first check is how the skis are standing. In an ideal case in the apex, the skis are parallel to the fall line. Here we can see that this is only roughly achieved. The skis are in the fall line about 0.2 seconds earlier. It's not bad, but it can be better. There could be several reasons for this. One reason is that the support of the fresh snow is weaker, and the ski is crawling a few inches until the snow is compacted sufficiently. Because of this, at the widest point of the corridor, the skier may already be past the true apex. Another reason can be that I wanted to control the speed, and for this purpose I steered the ski aggressively. To steer, I need to use the front of the ski intensively, so the snow pushes and bends the tip of the ski very firmly across in front of me. In the case of a steering on the edges, it is typical that before or around the apex the skis are in the fall line, and then at or immediately after the apex, their tip starts to cross. It's important that their tip starts, not their tail. If the skis are significantly across the fall line, especially when the tail of the skis moves more outside, but not the tip inside, it is suspicious. If you see this, there is a high chance of a ski technical failure, the cause of which must be found. Otherwise, we pay attention to the same key points. Are the skis parallel with each other and the fall line? Are the edges similar? Are the lower legs parallel? We can double check the axis for the parallelism and rotation. Theoretically, at the apex, we must see an athletic skiing stance. This is appropriate for carrying the peak loads. There shouldn't be any significant rotation. All the axes can be parallel to the radius of the turn. If the skier decided to ski in angulation, then it should already be developed. The direction of gaze is important again. At the apex, the best point is to look at is roughly the next apex instead of the upcoming transition, which is too close. Altogether, this run fulfills the original intention. For me, one of the most essential purposes, whether it's short turns, carving or longer steer turns, is to maintain the constant speed of the skis, avoiding drifting and braking. From this perspective, the skis are moving consistently and synchronized, the speed is controlled, the flow of the movement and the timings are visible and obvious. If the purpose of this run was to demonstrate a controlled short turn to everyday skiers in the way that gives them the realistic chance to copy it, then I can be happy with this run. Although there is still room for improvement, but everyone is striving for the one perfect run.